The sky above Earth darkened, a stark contrast to the bustling life below. Cities thrummed with energy, unaware of the cosmic storm approaching. As the clock ticked down to the appointed hour, anticipation hung thick in the air. News networks interrupted regular programming, flashing urgent alerts. Galactic Empire, diplomatic envoy arrives. In a grand hall, leaders from around the globe gathered, their expressions a mix of trepidation and defiance. The alien ambassador, towering and cloaked in shimmering silver armor, stepped forward, radiating an aura of authority. His eyes glinted like polished obsidian, cold and calculating. As he activated the holo-projector, a three-dimensional image of the Empire's vast territory filled the room, revealing a labyrinth of planets and fleets poised for war. "People of Earth," the ambassador's voice echoed, chilling the room to silence. "You stand at a crossroads. Submit to the Galactic Empire, and you shall be granted protection and resources beyond your wildest dreams. Resist, and your planet will become a memory." Murmurs erupted among the leaders. Some were aghast, others furious. A representative from the United Nations, a veteran diplomat, rose to his feet. "We will never bow to an interstellar tyrant. We are not your subjects." The ambassador's lips curled into a thin smile, devoid of warmth. "Then prepare for your annihilation. Your resistance is futile. We will return in one solar cycle." As he exited, a heavy silence settled over the room. Maya, a young activist with a fierce passion for justice, felt a fire ignite within her. "This isn't just politics, it's survival," she exclaimed, eyes wide with determination. "We can't let them dictate our fate. We need to organize to rally the people. They're underestimating us." Her words sparked a wave of agreement among the younger leaders, who were tired of being pawns in a game they didn't understand. They exchanged glances filled with unspoken resolve. Yet, older diplomats remained skeptical, wrestling with the implications of defiance against an empire that had already swallowed countless worlds. As discussions raged, Dr. Elena Chase stood in the back, her mind racing. A brilliant scientist, she had devoted her life to space technology and had a deep understanding of the threats beyond Earth. "If we're to resist, we need more than just words," she whispered to herself, her thoughts churning. In the days that followed, fear gripped the globe. The ambassador's ultimatum became a topic of heated debate across every medium: news outlets, social media, and coffee shops. The world was at a tipping point, and while some called for diplomacy, others clamored for war. Maya and a group of like-minded activists banded together, spreading the message of resistance. They organized rallies, bringing together citizens from every corner of the globe. Their motto, "United we stand," echoed through the streets, igniting a sense of solidarity. But with the Empire's looming threat, tension surged. People were torn between the desire to fight and the instinct to survive. Meanwhile, Dr. Chase worked in her lab, piecing together a radical invention she had kept secret. She envisioned a device capable of disrupting the very fabric of space, something that could level the playing field against advanced alien technology. But the stakes were higher than ever. As she began assembling her team, she couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The day of reckoning loomed. The Empire would return, and Earth had to be ready. As the first protests erupted in the streets, a chilling thought crossed Dr. Chase's mind. If the world was to survive, they would have to confront the Empire with more than just courage. They would need a weapon, a bold move that could either save them or lead to their doom. Little did they know the Empire was watching. In the depths of a secure underground bunker, Earth's leaders convened, the air thick with tension. A massive screen displayed live feeds from around the globe, rallies, protests, and discussions all sparked by the Galactic Empire's ultimatum. Dr. Elena Chase sat at a long table, her fingers tapping nervously against the polished surface. Beside her, a military strategist named General Thompson surveyed the chaos with a grim expression. "We can't waste time. We need a strategy," he said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "The Empire's fleet will arrive in less than a week. We should consider our military options now." "Military options?" Maya shot back, her eyes blazing. "Did you not hear what that alien said? Their technology is light years ahead of ours. We need to think outside the box." "What's your solution, then?" An older diplomat interjected, skepticism etched on his face. "We can't just wish away the threat. We need actionable plans." Dr. Chase cleared her throat, eager to intervene. "Actually, I have been working on something. A prototype I believe could give us a fighting chance." The room fell silent, all eyes turning toward her. "A weapon?" General Thompson asked, leaning forward. "What do you have in mind?" "It's called the Disruptor," Dr. Chase explained, passion igniting her words. "It's designed to manipulate localized space-time, creating waves that can disrupt enemy technology. If we can get it operational, we could neutralize their ships and turn the tide in our favor." A murmur of intrigue rippled through the room, but skepticism lingered. "How close are you to completion?" another official asked, his brow furrowed. "I need resources, advanced materials, and a team willing to work around the clock." "We have to move fast," she replied, urgency lacing her tone. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the bunker, drowning out conversation. The lights flickered, and a holographic display projected an urgent message. "Security breach detected. Unauthorized access in Sector D." Chaos erupted. Security personnel rushed to their posts, their faces tight with concern. General Thompson barked orders, and the leaders scrambled to comprehend the implications. "Stay calm," he shouted. "We need to find out what's happening." Maya's heart raced as she exchanged glances with Dr. Chase. "Do you think it's the Empire?" she whispered. "Could be sabotage," Dr. Chase replied, her expression darkening. "We have to protect the Disruptor at all costs." Moments later, the sound of footsteps echoed through the corridor. A figure cloaked in shadows emerged, a hood obscuring their features. They moved with a confidence that betrayed familiarity with the bunker's layout. "Stop right there," a guard shouted, drawing his weapon. But before he could react, the figure lunged, disarming him with a swift motion. Dr. Chase's pulse quickened. "Who are you?" she demanded. The figure pulled back their hood, revealing a familiar face. Liam, a brilliant engineer who had once been part of Dr. Chase's team, but had disappeared months earlier. "I've come to warn you," he said, his voice urgent. "I was approached by the Empire. They're planning to infiltrate your operations and sabotage the Disruptor." Gasps filled the room as eyes turned to him in shock. "You can't trust them." Liam continued, desperation in his tone. "They've sent agents to eliminate anyone who stands in their way. You need to move quickly." As Liam's warning hung in the air, the tension escalated. Dr. Chase felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. The threat was real, and time was not on their side. "We have to secure the lab and gather our resources," she ordered, her voice steady now. "We're building the Disruptor, and nothing will stop us." But as they prepared for their next move, a chilling realization struck Dr. Chase. If they were being watched, the clock was ticking, and the stakes had never been higher. With the fate of Earth hanging in the balance, Every decision would count, and betrayal could be lurking around any corner. The bunker pulsed with urgency as Dr. Chase and her team scrambled to fortify their operations. The news of the potential sabotage sent shockwaves through the group, amplifying their anxiety. Overhead lights flickered, casting sharp shadows across faces now marked by determination. "Liam," Dr. Chase said, gathering everyone's attention, "we need you to help us secure the lab. If the Empire's agents are infiltrating our ranks, we have to act fast." Liam nodded, his brow furrowed with resolve. "I've got some ideas for setting up surveillance and traps. We need to keep our eyes open and our defenses tight." As they set to work, the clock on the wall ticked ominously, a constant reminder of the deadline looming over them. Each second felt like a drumbeat, propelling them forward into a future fraught with danger. Meanwhile, outside the bunker, protests erupted across the globe, citizens holding signs demanding action against the Galactic Empire. Maya, fueled by the crowd's fervor, spoke passionately at rallies, urging people to unite in resistance. "We are not just fighting for our lives, we are fighting for our future," she cried, igniting cheers from the gathered masses. Her speeches became a beacon of hope, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, a presence lurking in the shadows of the crowd. Back in the bunker, Dr. Chase's team worked tirelessly, piecing together the components of the disruptor. As hours turned into days, the pressure mounted. "I need more time," she urged her engineers as they dealt with one malfunction after another. "This isn't just a weapon, it's our only chance." In a crucial meeting, they reviewed their progress. "We're running out of materials," one engineer reported. "If we don't get the specialized quantum crystals, we can't stabilize the core." "Then we need to acquire them," Dr. Chase said, her eyes narrowing with determination. "I'll lead a team to gather supplies. We'll infiltrate the old tech depot. It's our best bet." Maya stepped forward, her voice unwavering. "I want to join you. If we're going to face this threat, we need to show everyone that we're not afraid." "Agreed," Liam chimed in. "If the Empire is watching, we have to prove our resolve, and that starts with us." As they prepared for the mission, a tension settled over the group. They knew the risks. The Empire's agents could be anywhere, but the fire of defiance burned brightly in their hearts, propelling them forward into the unknown. Under the cover of night, they approached the derelict tech depot, a crumbling fortress filled with forgotten remnants of humanity's technological past. Dr. Chase led the way, her mind racing with possibilities. They navigated through the shadows, the eerie silence amplifying the tension. Suddenly, a noise echoed from within the building, a crash followed by muffled voices. The group exchanged wary glances, instinctively reaching for their weapons. "We're not alone," Maya whispered, adrenaline surging through her veins. As they crept closer, Dr. Chase could make out a group of figures huddled together, speaking in hushed tones. "They're here for the crystals," one of them said, unmistakably, an alien accent slicing through the quiet. "We can't let them take it." Realizing they had stumbled upon a faction of Empire agents, Dr. Chase's heart raced. "We need to get back," she whispered urgently, but it was too late. The agents had spotted them. "Get down," Liam shouted as they dove behind a stack of old machinery. A barrage of energy blasts erupted, lighting up the darkened space. Dr. Chase's mind raced as she formulated a plan. "We need to flank them," she yelled, adrenaline sharpening her focus. As the group split up, moving through the shadows, the chaotic confrontation intensified. Maya's heart pounded in her chest. They were outnumbered, but they had one advantage: They were fighting for their home. Just then, an explosion rocked the building, sending debris flying. Maya glanced at Dr. Chase, and in that split second, they both knew this was just the beginning. The battle for Earth had truly begun, and they had to survive if they were to build the disruptor and face the Empire head-on. The stakes had never been higher. As the dust settled in the derelict tech depot, Maya's ears rang from the explosion. The shockwaves had momentarily disoriented both the Empire agents and her team. Heart racing, she looked around for Dr. Chase and Liam, her mind buzzing with the realization of how quickly their situation had escalated. "Stay low." Liam yelled, crouching behind an old control panel. Maya followed suit, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Peering around the corner, she spotted 2 alien soldiers moving cautiously, their weapons drawn and scanning the area for any signs of movement. "We can't let them alert the main fleet," Maya whispered, her voice taut with tension. "We have to take them down silently." "Agreed," Dr. Chase replied, her gaze fixed on the aliens. "I have a few EMP grenades. We can disable their weapons without drawing attention to ourselves." "Let's do it," Maya said, steeling herself for action. As Dr. Chase handed her a grenade, she felt a surge of determination. They were fighting for their home, and failure was not an option. The 3 of them moved as one, each step calculated. Dr. Chase counted down silently, and on her signal, they hurled the grenades. A brief flash illuminated the room as the devices detonated, sending a pulse of electromagnetic energy through the air. The aliens collapsed, their weapons rendered useless. Breathing heavily, the trio exchanged relieved glances. "We need to grab those crystals and get out," Dr. Chase urged, moving quickly toward a nearby storage area. As they hurried through the remnants of old technology, Maya felt a strange sensation wash over her, an uneasy mix of dread and anticipation. It was as if the very fabric of their reality was shifting, warning her of the impending storm. Suddenly, a loud rumble shook the ground beneath them. "What was that?" Liam exclaimed, eyes wide. Dr. Chase glanced up, her expression grim. The Empire's ships. They must be launching their attack. Maya's heart dropped. They had mere hours before the ultimatum's deadline passed. "We have to hurry," she urged, her voice rising with urgency. With a newfound sense of purpose, they gathered as many quantum crystals as they could carry, stuffing them into their packs. Just as they turned to leave, a blaring alarm echoed through the depot, a piercing sound that made Maya's stomach drop. "Too late," Liam muttered, his face pale. "We've been compromised." "Go, go, go," Dr. Chase shouted, leading the way toward an exit. They burst through a door, but their path was blocked by a squad of alien soldiers, their faces twisted in disdain. Maya felt a rush of fear, but also fierce determination. "We have to fight," she shouted, raising her weapon as the aliens charged forward. The ensuing battle was chaotic. Energy blasts whizzed past them, illuminating the darkened space. Maya ducked and rolled, returning fire with precision. Beside her, Dr. Chase fought valiantly, her scientific knowledge fueling strategic maneuvers. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, the ground trembled violently again. Through the thick dust and chaos, they could see the silhouettes of massive ships descending from the sky, blocking out the sun. The Empire had arrived, and Earth was under siege. "Fall back," Liam shouted, and they sprinted toward a side exit, narrowly avoiding a blast that singed the wall beside them. As they escaped the depot, the scene outside was apocalyptic. streets filled with panicked citizens and military forces trying to mount a defense against the relentless assault. Maya's heart sank as she witnessed the devastation. Buildings crumbled, and the sky darkened with the shadows of alien ships hovering above. This was the moment they had all feared, the true face of the Empire's wrath. "We need to regroup," Dr. Chase yelled, grabbing Maya's arm. "We can't fight them alone. We have to warn the others and activate the disruptor." Together, they navigated through the chaos, pushing their way toward the bunker. The determination to protect their world surged within Maya. She knew that every second counted, and failure was not an option. As they reached the entrance of the bunker, a chilling thought struck her. They were not just fighting for their lives, but for the very essence of humanity. With the Empire's might bearing down upon them, the struggle had only just begun. Time was running out, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Inside the bunker, the atmosphere crackled with tension. Alarms blared, echoing off the cold metal walls, drowning out the frantic shouts of personnel rushing to defend their base. Dr. Chase, Maya, and Liam stumbled into the command center, breathless and wide-eyed, the weight of their recent skirmish heavy on their shoulders. "Status report." Dr. Chase barked as they entered. The room was a frenzy of activity. Technicians tapped frantically at consoles, and military personnel coordinated defensive measures against the overwhelming alien forces above. Multiple breaches reported across the perimeter, a commander shouted, sweat glistening on his forehead. "The Empire's forces are engaging our defenses. We're outnumbered." "Where's the disruptor?" Maya asked, her voice rising over the cacophony. "It's being prepared in the lower lab, but we need to hold the line," the commander replied. "We can't let them breach this facility." Dr. Chase exchanged a determined glance with Maya and Liam. "Then we have no choice. We have to get to the lab and activate the disruptor. It's our only chance." With adrenaline surging through her veins, Maya led the way through the twisting corridors of the bunker. As they navigated the labyrinthine passages, they encountered pockets of resistance, soldiers fighting valiantly against alien troops that had infiltrated the facility. Each clash sent shockwaves through Maya's heart, but she pushed on, fueled by the urgency of their mission. Finally, they reached the lab door, a thick steel barrier marked with glowing red lights. Dr. Chase punched in the access code, her fingers flying across the keypad. Come on," she urged, glancing over her shoulder as distant explosions rattled the walls. With a final beep, the door slid open, revealing the heart of their operations. The disruptor stood at the center, a complex array of machinery pulsing with energy. Around it, technicians worked feverishly to finalize the calibration. "Maya, Liam, we need your help," one of the engineers called out, sweat dripping down his brow. "We're almost ready, but we need to stabilize the core before we can activate it." Maya rushed to join the team, her hands shaking with excitement and fear. "What can I do?" she asked, her eyes scanning the intricate setup. "Assist with the alignment of the quantum crystals. We need to ensure they're in place before we can engage the main power." As Maya worked, she could hear the distant sounds of battle growing closer. Explosions reverberated through the bunker, and shouts of conflict rang out. The atmosphere was electric with tension and urgency, every second ticking away like a bomb ready to explode. Dr. Chase moved to the main console, her face set in determination. "We're running out of time. Activate the auxiliary power," she commanded. The engineer nodded, frantically flipping switches. The lights dimmed momentarily as the backup generators roared to life, illuminating the lab with a stark glow. "We're ready for the main sequence," he shouted. Just then, the ground shook violently as an explosion rocked the bunker. Dust fell from the ceiling, and Maya's heart raced. "They're coming. We have to hurry." Almost there, Dr. Chase called back, her fingers flying over the controls. Just a few more adjustments. Suddenly, the lab door blew open, and a group of alien soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. Chaos erupted as the defenders turned to face this new threat. "Protect the disruptor." Maya yelled, grabbing a weapon and taking aim. As the soldiers exchanged fire, Maya's heart raced. She ducked behind a console, firing back with precision. Liam moved beside her, his expression grim. "We can't let them get to the core." The battle intensified, energy blasts lighting up the dim lab. Maya felt a surge of adrenaline as she focused on the task at hand, her resolve strengthening. She was fighting for her home, for her people, and she wouldn't back down. Amidst the chaos, Dr. Chase continued working tirelessly at the control panel. "I'm locking in the last sequence. Just hold them off a little longer," she shouted, her voice barely audible over the din of battle. With renewed determination, Maya and Liam fought valiantly, pushing back against the invaders. But just as hope flickered, a sharp explosion rang out from the doorway, and a hulking alien figure stepped through, a commander in gleaming armor. "Your efforts are futile," it sneered, raising its weapon. "You cannot stop the Empire." As despair washed over Maya, she felt a spark of resolve ignite within her. "We can't let them win," she whispered to herself, knowing that the fate of Earth hung in the balance. They had to hold the line, if only for a moment longer. Every second counted, and this was their last stand. The room trembled as the alien commander advanced, its menacing presence a stark reminder of the overwhelming odds they faced. Maya's heart raced as she exchanged glances with Dr. Chase and Liam, their expressions a mix of fear and determination. They were on the brink of something monumental, and they couldn't afford to falter now. "Hold the line," Maya shouted, rallying the defenders as they braced for an assault. The disruptor pulsed behind them, a beacon of hope in the chaos. Dr. Chase's fingers flew over the control panel, her focus unwavering despite the chaos surrounding her. "Just a few more seconds," she called out, her voice sharp with urgency. "If we can stabilize the core, we might turn the tide." Maya ducked and fired at the advancing aliens, her breath coming in quick bursts. "We need to buy her time," she yelled to Liam. "Cover me." Liam nodded, moving to provide support as Maya sprinted toward the nearest cover. Explosions rang out, and the acrid smell of smoke filled the air. But amid the chaos, a fierce determination surged within her. They had come too far to back down now. As the alien soldiers pushed into the lab, Maya darted between consoles, taking aim and firing with precision. The alien commander roared in frustration, commanding its troops to advance. "You think you can defy the Empire? You will fall like all the others." The intensity of the firefight escalated, energy blasts illuminating the dim room. Maya's pulse quickened as she exchanged fire, her movements instinctual and sharp. But even as they fought, she could feel the weight of desperation pressing in around them. "Dr. Chase, how much longer?" Liam shouted over the din. "Almost there," she replied, her voice strained. "I'm locking in the final parameters. Prepare to engage the disruptor." Just as Maya felt a surge of hope, the alien commander lunged forward, its weapon raised, aiming directly at Dr. Chase. "No!" Maya screamed, instinct taking over as she dove toward her friend. In that split second, time seemed to stretch. Maya's body hit the ground hard, her gun firing reflexively as she tackled Dr. Chase to the floor. The blast whizzed overhead, narrowly missing them both. "Get to the console," Maya shouted, her heart pounding as she pushed herself up. Dr. Chase scrambled to regain her footing, her eyes fierce with determination. "I need you both to cover me, if I can just..." Before she could finish, the alien commander roared, rallying its troops. "Destroy them. We cannot allow them to activate the weapon." With renewed urgency, Maya and Liam exchanged glances, their resolve hardening. They fought back to back, moving as one, their instincts guiding them. Maya felt the adrenaline surge as she fired at the incoming soldiers, each shot fueled by the weight of their mission. Almost there. Dr. Chase shouted again, her fingers dancing across the controls. "I just need one more." Suddenly, the lights flickered as a stray blast hit the power grid, sending sparks flying and plunging the room into momentary darkness. Panic surged through Maya. No, not now. In that instant of chaos, the alien commander broke through their line, closing in on Dr. Chase. "You will not succeed," it bellowed, lunging toward her. Maya's heart raced as she leaped into action, charging forward. "Get away from her," she shouted, aiming her weapon at the commander. With a sharp breath, she fired, the blast striking true. The commander stumbled back, its eyes wide with shock, before crashing to the ground. "Dr. Chase, now!" Maya yelled, her voice filled with urgency. With a fierce determination, Dr. Chase took a deep breath and slammed her palm onto the control panel. "Engaging the disruptor," she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. The room filled with a pulsating energy as the disruptor whirred to life. A brilliant wave of light radiated from the device, cascading through the lab and sending shockwaves into the surrounding area. Maya felt the energy ripple around her, and for a moment, everything seemed to freeze. As the disruptor's power surged, the alien ships hovering outside began to flicker and dissolve, vanishing like smoke in the wind. A collective gasp filled the bunker as the defenders watched in awe, the tide of battle shifting before their eyes. Dr. Chase's voice rang out over the chaos. "We did it. It's working." But just as triumph began to settle, the ground shook violently. The ceiling rumbled, dust cascading from above. "What's happening?" Liam shouted, panic creeping into his voice. "The power surge is unstable," Dr. Chase exclaimed. "We need to contain it, or we'll lose everything." Maya's heart sank. They had achieved something incredible, but they were not out of danger yet. "How do we stabilize it?" she asked, desperation creeping in. "I need to redirect the energy flow," Dr. Chase shouted, her fingers flying over the controls as the disruptor's light began to flicker. With the fate of Earth still hanging in the balance, Maya and Liam exchanged determined glances, ready to face whatever came next. They had already defied the Empire, but the real battle was far from over. The air in the bunker crackled with energy as the disruptor pulsed erratically, its brilliant light flickering ominously. Dr. Chase's fingers raced across the control panel, trying to regain control of the device. "I need more stability. If we don't contain this surge, the whole bunker will collapse." Maya felt a surge of panic as the room trembled. "What can we do?" she shouted, glancing nervously at Liam, who was surveying the chaos around them. "We need to create a buffer," Dr. Chase yelled, her voice steady despite the mounting pressure. "Maya, can you assist me with the core stabilization? Liam, help block the door. We can't let any more aliens in while we fix this." Nodding, Maya sprinted to the console where Dr. Chase worked, her heart pounding. "What do I do?" she asked, trying to suppress the fear rising in her chest. "Adjust the crystal alignment," Dr. Chase instructed, pointing to a series of glowing panels. "We need to channel the excess energy safely. Just follow my lead." As Maya moved the designated panels, she focused on the intricate components, adjusting them as Dr. Chase directed. The pulsating light of the disruptor dimmed slightly as she made the necessary changes, but the surge was still dangerously high. Meanwhile, Liam positioned himself at the door, weapon drawn, scanning for any signs of the alien troops regrouping. The sounds of battle outside grew louder, and Maya could feel the weight of their responsibility pressing down on her. "Stay alert," Liam warned as he braced against the door. "They'll be back, and we can't let them breach the lab again." Maya felt a moment of solidarity with her friends. They were in this together, fighting not just for their own survival, but for the future of Earth. "We've got this," she called back, her voice steadying. "Just a few more adjustments." Dr. Chase shouted, her determination unwavering as she focused on the controls. The disruptor flickered again, and the energy pulse intensified, filling the room with a blinding light. Suddenly, the door burst open, and a group of alien soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. "Stop them!" one of them screamed. "We cannot allow this weapon to be activated." Without hesitation, Liam opened fire, the shots echoing through the lab as he pushed back against the incoming threat. "Maya, keep working," he shouted, determination etched on his face. Maya felt a surge of adrenaline as she continued her task. "I'm almost there," she called out, adjusting the crystal alignment with precision. With each movement, she felt the energy stabilizing slightly, but the tension in the air was palpable. Dr. Chase glanced at the door, her expression fierce. "We need to hold them off until we stabilize the core," she shouted, her focus unwavering. Maya's fingers flew across the panels, adjusting settings and recalibrating the flow of energy. The disruptor's light pulsed rhythmically, but it still felt unstable, like a coiled spring ready to snap. Liam continued to fend off the aliens, each shot finding its mark, but he could feel fatigue creeping in. "We can't keep this up forever," he warned, glancing back at Maya. "How much longer?" "Just a few more minutes," she shouted, her heart racing as she focused on the disruptor. With every ounce of concentration, she pushed herself to work faster. As the battle raged on, an alien soldier managed to breach Liam's defenses, tackling him to the ground. "Get off me," he shouted, struggling against the creature's grip. Maya's heart sank as she saw Liam in danger. "No," she screamed, abandoning her post for just a moment. With fierce determination, she grabbed her weapon and rushed toward them. In a split second, she fired, the shot striking the alien soldier and sending it sprawling. "Liam, get up," she urged, pulling him to his feet. "Thanks," he said breathlessly, shaking off the shock. "Now let's finish this." Maya returned to the console, her mind racing. She could feel the disruptor thrumming beneath her fingertips, the energy building to a breaking point. "Dr. Chase, I think I've got it," she shouted, adjusting the final parameters. "Engage the stabilization sequence," Dr. Chase commanded, her voice filled with urgency. Maya pressed the final button, and a brilliant light erupted from the disruptor, filling the room with a blinding glow. The energy swirled, then surged outward in a wave that rippled through the bunker, sending shockwaves into the air. Outside, the Empire's ships began to falter, their technology disrupted as the waves of energy swept over them. The alien forces staggered, disoriented, and confused. "We did it," Maya shouted, exhilaration washing over her as the disruptor's power surged. But just as relief began to settle in, the ground shook violently again, the bunker creaking ominously. "We need to evacuate," Dr. Chase shouted, panic creeping into her voice. "Now." Maya grabbed Liam's arm, and together they rushed toward the exit, urgency driving them forward. As they sprinted through the chaos, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that their fight was far from over. They had achieved something incredible, but the real challenge awaited them outside as they burst through the bunker's exit. The world outside was unrecognizable. The sky was streaked with smoke, and the sound of chaos enveloped them. Maya shielded her eyes from the bright, flickering lights of the disruptor, still pulsating behind them. The energy wave had disrupted the alien forces, but the fight was not yet over. "Over there," Liam shouted, pointing toward a cluster of civilians gathered near a makeshift barricade. "We need to regroup." Maya nodded, her heart racing as they made their way through the chaos. The remnants of humanity were rising up, citizens banding together with soldiers, rallying to defend their home. Hope flickered in the air like the distant glow of the sun breaking through storm clouds. As they reached the barricade, Maya spotted Maya, the activist, standing tall among the crowd, her voice ringing out. "We can't let fear divide us. This is our moment. Together, we can drive the Empire back." Maya felt a surge of pride. This was the spirit they needed. A unified front against the invaders. "Maya," she called, running toward her. "We've activated the disruptor. It's disrupting their ships." The activist's eyes lit up. "That's incredible. If we can hold our ground, we can turn the tide. Let's fortify this position," Dr. Chase urged, joining them. "If we can harness the momentum from the disruptor, we might just have a chance to push back." As they gathered supplies and formed a makeshift command center, Maya could feel the energy of the crowd swell. People shared ammunition, created barricades, and organized makeshift defenses. Each individual was a crucial part of the larger effort, a mosaic of humanity united against a common foe. Suddenly, a loud explosion echoed in the distance, and the ground trembled. The Empire wasn't done yet. They were regrouping for a counterattack. "We need to prepare," Liam shouted, moving to help fortify their position. As the minutes ticked by, the sounds of conflict grew closer. Maya took a deep breath, her mind racing with strategies. What if we create a diversion, draw their fire away from the barricade? Dr. Chase nodded. "That could work. We can use the remnants of the disruptor's energy to create localized bursts of interference, confuse their targeting systems." "I'll help with that," Maya said, determination surging through her. They quickly assembled a plan, using whatever materials they had at hand. The alien forces advanced, their ships hovering ominously above. The air buzzed with tension as Maya watched the figures moving in the distance, a sea of armored aliens preparing for their next onslaught. "Now," Dr. Chase commanded, activating the makeshift devices they had built. Pulses of energy erupted, causing bright flashes to ripple through the air. The aliens hesitated, their targeting systems disrupted, confusion rippling through their ranks. "Push forward," Maya shouted, rallying the crowd. With renewed courage, the defenders surged from behind the barricades, their collective voices rising in a battle cry. They charged toward the enemy, adrenaline fueling their every step. The confrontation erupted into chaos as humans and aliens clashed. Maya fought with every ounce of strength, her heart pounding with the realization of what was at stake. This wasn't just about survival, it was about reclaiming their future. In the midst of the battle, she spotted the alien commander they had faced in the bunker, its eyes narrowed in fury. It charged at her, its weapon raised. "You think you can defeat the Empire?" it snarled. "Together we can." Maya shouted back, dodging its attack and countering with precision. Just then, Liam arrived, flanking her and delivering a well-placed shot that staggered the commander. With a determined push, they pressed the attack, the tide of the battle shifting. The aliens, disoriented and confused by the unexpected resistance, began to falter. As the last remnants of the alien forces crumbled, a collective roar of victory erupted from the crowd. Maya looked around, her heart swelling with pride. They had done it together. Exhausted but exhilarated, she fell to her knees, the weight of what they had achieved washing over her. Dr. Chase knelt beside her, tears of relief glistening in her eyes. "We fought for our home," she said, her voice filled with awe. As the dust began to settle and the sun peeked through the clouds, illuminating the battlefield, Maya knew that this was just the beginning. They had faced the Empire and emerged victorious, but the journey to rebuild and redefine their world had only just begun. Together, they would forge a new path, united against any threat that dared to challenge humanity. And as she looked at her friends, Liam, Dr. Chase, and Maya, the strength of their bond ignited a hope that would last long into the future. The dawn of a new era had arrived, and humanity was ready to embrace it.